there. Got my
Because
opening
yeah, because on
statement.
that debate too, while you're looking for that, it would appear that you would hold to the idea that all of the references to Christ's return and second coming are all one event, where in the dispensational world and even in the post-trib pre-wrath world, we kind of separate like 1 Thessalonians 4 from Revelation 19. And then people will often mock that, like, well, you're saying we're going right back up and then coming right back down. But that's actually not that far-fetched of an idea. And one of the things that I keep bringing up to all the people who even agree with me, why is the event of 1 Thessalonians 4, where Christ is coming in the clouds with his saints, and that's stated in 1 Thessalonians 4, he's coming with his saints, how is that not the same event as Jesus Christ in Revelation 19 coming in the clouds with his saints? If those are different events, I think we got to do a better job proving that. But one of the
Yeah.
big things people say, well, that's just stupid. We just go right up and come right back down. Well, actually, it's not really that far-fetched. And so, yeah, if you want to explain that to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got my notes pulled up here because the I don't know if this is the word that you heard. Apontason is the Greek word there, which is the word which references to meet the Lord. The apontason means to meet. When it says we're caught up together to meet the Lord in the air, and some scholars believe that Paul is using a specific term that was describing a delegation who was sent out of the walls of the city, whose job was to formally welcome in a king or a dignitary, and then they would precede him back in procession as he enters in the city. And so that phrase is a technical term. We see it in other places when the triumphal entry was happening, when Jesus was coming into the city in John 12:13. The people went out to meet him and to come back in with him, and that has the same root. Hupontasis is the word that's there, which is apontasis. It's the same. It's just a similar, different prefix, but it's the same root. And those related words are also found in the parable of the virgins of Matthew 25, where you remember the virgins went out to meet the bridegroom as he came and back in with them to the banquet. So this term does have a consistent New Testament use, which references going out, meeting on as the king or the bridegroom or whomever it is coming back in. And so I think that is certainly a reasonable understanding. And here's the key: we divide 1 Thessalonians 4 from other places where Jesus returns, and we make these sort of two returns. And I know dispensationalists don't like it when you say there's two returns of Christ, but you know what I mean. I'm not trying to be argumentative there. I'm just saying we make Christ's rapture and his return separate. But if you look at commentaries that are prior to 1830, specifically the introduction of dispensationalism with Darby and others, there are others who were involved in that, but particularly Darby obviously was influential, and then obviously the C.I. Scofield really popularized it through, and then you mentioned Larkin's notes and things like that. But prior to that, you read Calvin's commentary on 1 Thessalonians 4, you read Gill's commentary on 1 Thessalonians 4, all these men who preceded the Adventist movement of the 1800s. You go back and you read commentaries from history. Nobody separates this. Nobody says this is anything other than the second coming, and nobody has to divide it out as two or three events. They see it as one event. And like I said in the debate, there are so many places in the Bible where we have to harmonize things, like the resurrection of Christ. There's four different resurrection stories. Each one of them has a different amount of angels. Each one of them has a different situation with the Roman soldiers. Each one of them has a different situation with the women. Each one of them, that doesn't mean they're all different stories. It just means that we have to harmonize those stories to come to the right answer. And I think rather than dividing up the return of Christ, we harmonize it. We use Revelation 19 as sort of the starting point, because that's the picture, right? Christ returns on the horse. Okay, where are we in that? Well, we're with him. How did we get there? Well, we were caught up together with him so we could return with him, right? Like, so all this happens together. And so that would be my very simple understanding.
Okay. Yeah, no, I thought that was interesting. And again, people on my side, they get mad at me when I point out things that challenge our position on things. But it's just like, for one, we can't just keep straw manning other positions. You know, if there are better explanations of something, I don't understand why we can't, we can't use that. And there are things that make a lot of sense. And, if we're so sure First Thessalonians 4 and Revelation 19 are different events, we ought to be able to prove it, and it ought to hold up against scrutiny. And so one of the things that I thought that explanation that makes a lot of sense, and that is, it shows that's not far-fetched to teach that. And I'm not saying I'm for sure in that camp. I'm just saying, it's okay to take another look at some of these things. And